Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, How to Make Mobile a Bigger Part of Your Online Marketing Strategy. My name is Eliana Raggio, and I'll be your moderator today. And today's webinar is being presented by DEALERUN. And for anyone who isn't familiar with DEALERUN, well, we're an award-winning website development company and digital agency, and we're best known for our search engine optimization, best-in-class customer service, and our award-winning websites. At NADA, DEALERUN received the Best in Show Award for Website Design from Dealer Marketing Magazine. DEALERUN was named the top-rated website provider by Driving Sales in 2012 and 2013, and it's official. DEALERUN customers have been winners of the Digital Dealer Website Excellence Awards highly coveted overall winner 4 times in a row. DEALERUN's the only website company that can claim that. DEALERUN is so committed to lead conversion, optimization, and customer service that we're the only company in the industry to offer a money-back lead guarantee program. So, does your website company guarantee you leads? Well, then maybe you should check us out at DEALERUN.com. And we have a great show in store for you today. We're very pleased to have Mike McFall as our presenter today. Mike McFall is the president of the online division of Blackbook, which provides dealers with tools designed to convert online shoppers into showroom leads from their websites, mobile sites, and even their social media sites. Mike is a proven entrepreneur holding patents for industry innovations. He co-founded Veritech LLC, which was later sold to the Hearst Corporation and became the basis for Blackbook Online. Before Blackbook, Mike helped found the Internet operations at AutoNation. He also worked in the strategic planning division of GMAC on product development and acquisitions. Mike holds an undergraduate degree in communications from Towson State University and an MBA in business from George Washington University. He lives in Florida, where he enjoys the warm weather, and he can be reached at mike.mcfall@blackbookonline.com. Now joining Mike McFall is Steve Knight. He's the Director of Online Retail Concepts at Blackbook Online. Steve is a retired veteran with over 20 years of automotive retail experience, 15 of which revolved around e-commerce, and he's going to be providing advice, insight, and practical strategies for maximum results. Now, during the presentation, if you have any questions, please use the question feature located on the corner of your screen to submit them. At the end of the presentation, we'll answer those questions of general interest. If we're unable to get to your question live, we're going to respond by email to you later today. Also, don't forget, a link to download a copy of the webinar recording will also be emailed to you later today for reference, and please feel free to share it with friends and colleagues. And guess what? Our good friends at Blackbook Online are giving away a fantastic prize today on the webinar. One of you lucky webinar attendees is going to be winning an iPad mini valued at $350. All you have to do is stay tuned for details after Mike's presentation, and you could be walking away with this awesome prize today. Also, at the conclusion of the webinar, you're going to receive a short survey. So fill it out. We're always looking for great feedback from you, our valued audience. And today, we're going to randomly select a couple of people from all the completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. So let's get started. Let's learn how to make mobile a bigger part of your online marketing strategy. Mike and Steve, how you guys doing today?
Great, thanks. We're doing great. Thank you so much.
Oh, look at that nice picture of you guys. Okay, audience, this is what those guys look like. Mike is on the right, Steve is on the left, and they are ready to give you some amazing, amazing insight on how to make mobile a bigger part of your marketing strategy. And, you know, Mike, I was so pleased when you accepted my invitation to come and do this webinar with us, because we all know, mobile is huge. I don't think we really can grasp just how huge it is or how huge it will be, but we all know mobile is huge. And so I know a lot of dealerships think that they're doing a lot to get those mobile customers, but maybe they're not doing everything they could be doing. So we're really looking forward to hearing what you have to say on the subject today. What are we going to be learning about?
Well, thank you for the introduction, and everyone, thank you for tuning in. We're going to spend about 40 minutes on a subject that's really important to me, and I think, frankly, underserved in our industry. And I've asked Steve to join me because Steve's got some real solid experience in the industry and can offer sort of a perspective. Thank you for being with me, Steve.
Thanks so much, Mike. I appreciate it.
I wish we could both want an iPad mini. That thing looks pretty good to me. How about you?
I would like one too, you know.
It looks great, but my wife would have it, and I'd never get to use it.
My son's got one, and he claims he can fit it into his pocket, but after that he can't walk. I mean, the thing is, but it is really handy, and it's a great device. And I think it's appropriate to be giving away a mobile device when we're talking about mobile. We're going to stay really focused today, folks. This is really going to get right to the heart of the matter, and that is we want to talk about how big mobile we think can get, what it means to us, and what we should do about it. So you're going to see some charts and graphs about growth in the industry. That won't take long, and it won't be very painful, and it won't be like going back to school. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the flavors of mobile, what's out there in terms of browsers and apps, sorting out all the different variations. And the last part of our time together before we do questions, Steve and I have put together 3 different strategies. Sort of a simple, straightforward, safe strategy, a more aggressive strategy, and a truly aggressive strategy. And we'll share those with you in the hope that you'll find something tactically valuable and useful in that. But before we do that, let's put this whole thing in a bit of a context. And Steve, you're a reader. You probably know Popular Mechanics, don't you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Popular Mechanics is published by Hearst, the same people who own Black Book. And we know these guys, and we get to spend time with them. They do a top 101 gadgets list. They put together a list of the 101 things that have sort of changed our lives and made them better. Things like the hypodermic syringe and radio and the Gutenberg press. And you can see here on the list of the Popular Mechanics top 101 things, the number 1 thing is the mobile smartphone. And I don't think that surprises me. Does it surprise you?
You know, it doesn't surprise me at all. I don't know how I could function today without a smartphone.
It's kind of like, some people have said it's kind of like having a Swiss Army knife. You know, they give you those in the military, don't they?
They do. They tried to keep anything sharp away from me, but I did have
But you kept having them. So, and not surprisingly, the Swiss Army knife turns up to be number 79 on their gadget list. So I was kind of thrilled to see that. The reason we wanted to share this with you is it puts mobile in a context. Now, just as a distraction, and we'll take 1 minute just for fun, you might be wondering if the smartphone was number 1, what was number 101? Well, it turns out to be one of my favorite tools and devices, the famous and very practical duct tape. Duct tape's number 101 after the stapler. And interestingly, Steve, this surprised me as well, number 95, the Super Soaker, and number 93, the Brazier, are so close to one another, you might have thought that their success was somehow linked.
Well, you know, I'm having flashbacks of spring break right now.
Anyway, we just thought that'd be kind of a fun, sort of an icebreaker. Let's get into a couple of charts, and I think you're going to find some useful insight. How big is this thing, and where is it going? The chart you're looking at right now, there's about 3 or 4 of these. It's done by the Ericsson company, and this basically shows you the big blue numbers are the number of smartphones and phones in use globally. Today about 1.2 billion, and the little red box is tablets. But the important thing on this slide that I really wanted to call your attention to is not just the huge growth that is behind us and in front of us, but the fact that 46% of the phones in use in the U.S. today are smartphones, meaning you can text on them, they got GPS, they got all these features. And to me that's important because as marketers, and our job every day is to sell more cars, as marketers we want to look at the tools that our customers have and make sure that we're fully leveraging those tools. Later on today in our call, we're going to talk about leveraging those tools.
Yeah, you know, an interesting statistic I just read, Mike. 78% of our customers in the next 3 years will do more than 85% of their communication using a mobile device. You know, my daughter, 17, who lives in the same household I do, rarely speaks to me. However, she texts me on a daily basis from upstairs to let me know what she needs.
Try to leave her a voice message sometime. Yeah. I got back a text message that says, don't leave me a voice message.
I don't want to talk to you. Just text me.
You know, I was at one of the Heat games a couple of days ago. You look around the audience, and I was up in the cheap seats, so I was looking down at everybody, and 10% of the people in the room had their phones out, at least at one time or another. So clearly, we're not breaking any new ground with the fact that phones are here to stay. One of our very best customers, Larry H. Miller Group, and a good friend of ours, Rick Trinkle, who's really leading edge in the industry, put it very succinctly. What he said here is that compared to website traffic, mobile was 10% a couple of years ago. Today it's about 30%. And if you would take a moment, each of you, and think about your own situation, think about what that number is. Do you know the number? You probably do. Is that number 30%? Is it higher than 30%, lower than 30%? Well, I will tell you, if it's lower than 30%, you may be missing an opportunity. If it's higher than 30%, you may be above the curve. The slide you're seeing now was developed by Auto Dealer Monthly, great publication. And what they've done is they've gone out and surveyed customers, and they asked the customers, how many of you are auto shoppers? How many of you auto shoppers, meaning the group of people who are in market, are using a mobile device as part of your shopping strategy? Look at the number. 2009, which we're going to talk about a little bit more in a minute, 1999, actually 10 years before, it was almost nothing. Look at the number today. That dotted line that you're about to see is Rick's number, about 30%. So here in 2013, about 30% of the automotive shoppers have a component of mobile as part of their shopping strategy. But look at the growth curve on this thing, Steve. It gets up as high as 50% in a year. I've never seen a projection that aggressive. Have you?
That is huge. You know, so what it comes down to, folks, it's not a matter of if, but when and how much you get into this strategy. You know, we as dealers, and I say that, I spent 20 years in the industry, we need to be prepared to fish where the fish are. Our customers are going to be there. We need to be ready.
And you know, it surprised me a little bit when you look at industry events in general, NADA, Digital Dealer. You know, mobile is touched on at these events. But frankly, I don't see the kind of attention saying, let's spend an hour and talk about mobile. And that's one of the reasons, Steve, why I wanted to kind of get into this and raise everybody's visibility and awareness here, because I think mobile is a little bit underserved when it comes to the industry knowledge base. Wouldn't you agree?
I absolutely agree. I think as an industry as a whole, the automotive industry, we're behind the curve. We really need to step it up and learn as much as we can and take advantage of this.
Now, I have a presentation rule. If you show 2 or 3 slides that are charts, you have to show something fun. So I want to stop and pause here for a moment and talk about 1999. When I've given this presentation in the past, what's interesting to me is I'll stop and I'll say, how many of you in the room, and it's hard to do a hand-raising thing in the webinar, so I'll give you the benefit. How many of you in the room were in the business in 1999? And the answer is usually about half. So this is interesting for me because Steve and I met in about 1999 at Autonews.
Yeah,
Remember those days?
Early days.
Oh.
We were certainly giving our all to try to navigate the early days of e-commerce.
There was nothing. There was no CRM. There was no text messaging. There was very, very basic rudimentary websites and very few graphics.
You know, I can't tell you how many general managers called me and asked me how to check their email.
So I remember the CD, when you push the button and the CD holder would come out and somebody would say, oh, my cup holder doesn't work anymore. You know, these are the days of the dial-up. Now, why are we talking about 1999? It's a long, long time ago. Well, frankly, the point that I'm trying to make here for everyone on the call is we're back to 1999 in a way. Sure, we've got state-of-the-art CRM systems. We've got great websites. We've got great metrics. But a lot of that stuff doesn't really work today as well as it should with mobile customers. And so the next section of our talk today, we'd like to kind of get into what's going to happen with these mobile customers and how can we get past 1999 with mobile customers to fully leverage the power of texting and apps and to really use the devices the way the customers want us to use them. And before we do that, let's look at one more chart that I'd like to share with you. And this is a chart that, if you've been in the industry, should be familiar to you. J.D. Power and Associates publishes a great study on automotive internet users. This is quoted quite widespread. And what you're seeing here in the green line that starts in 2000 at about 50% and then increases over time is the percentage of automotive shoppers who are using the internet as a part of their shopping tool. Now, Steve, I'm sure you're going to tell me it's understated, right? Because when you were in retail, everybody was an internet shopper.
Absolutely, absolutely. You got to give credit where credit is due. I can't imagine not using the internet to do my research before I shop for anything.
Me either. So the big question that I like to pose to everybody is, when you look at that earlier chart of the growth of mobile, let's take a minute, Steve, and put that mobile chart on top of this one for a minute. So what you're going to see here is a green line that represents the J.D. Power numbers for the percentage of automotive internet users using the internet, or automotive shoppers using the internet, and the blue line is that study that Auto Dealer Monthly did. Look at what's happening here. The internet grew at a nice pace, but look at the growth of mobile. It's almost shocking to me when you put it in this perspective that mobile could be 50% of the influence in just a few years.
Incredible.
And I think one more slide for you. And this slide, although it's based on J.D. Power and Automotive Dealer Monthly, is basically my slide. I made this up. So if, and I think they'll be relieved to hear that. Because what you see here is a potential, folks, and this is the end of sort of the beginning of the slides here. This is the end of that first section that says what would happen? What would happen to our business if the number of people using the web started to go down in favor of the number of people using mobile devices? If that happens, the question is, what do you do? How do you not get caught flat-footed when that happens? And that could be a serious problem, because if 90% of your strategy is built on the internet as a way to grow your business, you're going to get surprised within the next 14 months, I would guess.
Oh, absolutely.
It's out there. Now, one other slide that I'd like to share with you before we move into some of the more tactical and more fundamental issues. And this is a slide that's based on Google research. It was done late last year. And this is sort of the question that we're asking ourselves. Will the internet go down while mobile device shopping goes up? The counter argument that Google posts here is, you know what, a lot of people will start their shopping experience, and I'm going to see if my training paid off, using a smartphone, and then they'll finish either on a PC or a tablet. Other people may start on a laptop and then finish on other devices. And some people will start on a tablet and finish in other areas. The point here is that it's not A or B, black or white, one thing or another thing. It's a mixture that we have to get our heads around. As marketers, as salespeople, we have to recognize that people are using these devices sometimes at the same time.
Absolutely.
I've found these days, my kids will sit in the room, they'll be on their cell phone while they're watching TV. In fact, I didn't know it the other day, but I was actually watching TV using an iPad. It was coming, and you'd have to get a whiteboard and explain how all the dots connect. But somehow it came into the internet, went through the iPad, and got back on the TV. The point is multiple devices, and the question for everybody on the call today is, are you ready for the sea change that's going to occur, the new 1999 that's occurring this year, where we've got to realign ourselves to this new business challenge? Now, how do we begin to get aligned? The first thing to look at is what's happening today. And Steve, I'm going to draw on your expertise here. This is a slide from another slide from J.D. Power, great data source. And I put this one number up because if you've had to dial out and do something else, tune back in for this. According to J.D. Power, 59% of the people who are shopping on your lot are using mobile devices.
You know, I experienced this recently all the time. In all the dealerships I've worked in the past couple of years, it's not uncommon to have a customer on the showroom when they get a trade value or they get a price on a vehicle to check you against your competitors to see if you're being honest, to see if you're being transparent, or to check to see if the incentives and rebates and all the good stuff you're talking about the vehicle is true. They'll check it online using their mobile app.
I think retailers in general have a challenge here. There was a good blog that the DealerUn folks wrote about this that sort of inspired me to put these slides in the presentation, the idea of showrooming. going into the Best Buy with your cell phone, seeing something you want to buy, and then checking the price somewhere else, maybe even buying it on Amazon. Now, of course, we know people can't buy cars except from franchise dealers, but it also begs the point, what should we do as retailers to recognize, A, people are using their cell phones, and B, kind of step up and take advantage of that opportunity. We shouldn't be afraid of it. In 1999, I talked to dealers who were afraid of the Internet. They said, well, I know it's not going away, I just don't want it to come around that fast. and what I'm hearing today is the same thing from folks who are saying, gee, I don't know how comfortable I am having customers shopping on my lot. Well, I think the showrooming thing is here. And one of the things that I've observed in visiting dealerships, because I do that quite a bit with our sales guys, and I love going to stores. I love to see what they got on the front line. I love to see what's going on in the reconditioning area. You can learn more about the store just doing a walk around before you even meet the people. One of the things I do is check for Wi-Fi. And surprises me that still there are a number of stores that either don't have Wi-Fi available for their customers, or it's only in the service area. And it just seems like a shame when you can look out your window, and the next time you got 10 minutes to spare, look out the window on me. It's a freebie. And if the boss says, what are you doing? Say, I'm working. Mike told me it was all right. But look out the window and see what they're doing. They're looking for inventory. They're looking for reviews. They're playing Angry Birds. I don't know what they're doing. But frankly, making that easy for people by offering them free access to Wi-Fi says to that customer, we get it, and we want to support what you're doing.
Absolutely. I've done this as well. One of the biggest things we implemented in a dealer group that I work for is we put free iPads in our service drive with Wi-Fi.
Great idea.
And customers could sit down and read the news and play Angry Birds or whatever it is they wanted to do. And the feedback we got was just tremendous. The customer service aspect of that is just huge.
Now, did you have to tether that like they do the pens in the bank so you don't walk away from it?
Actually, it was pretty simple. We just said, give us your driver's license. We'll give you an
iPad. I love it. Well, this is a great time to pause and ask a poll question. I love this poll question idea because you get instant feedback. Let's ask the audience to jump in on a Wi-Fi related poll question.
That's a great idea. Thank you so much for that. Okay, audience, it's your turn to tell us what the heck is going on over at your dealership. Poll question is up on the screen, and we want to know, do you currently offer free Wi-Fi to visitors at your dealership? Please select just one of the following answers. Is it yes, and our customers love it? Yes, but we don't promote it. Yes, but in the service area only. Yes, but it's password protected, or no, not yet, but we're thinking about it. So whatever the answer is, we want to know. Guess what? We're going to wait for a majority of the votes to come in, and once we have those, then we'll close the poll and share the results, and we'll find out how you stack up with everyone else that's on this webinar. Votes are coming in really, really fast, and I already know, Steve and Mike, what you guys hope is the #1 answer.
You bet. We'd like to make sure, I'd like to think everybody's got free internet access and they've tested it right out to the edge of the lot to make sure it works, even at the McDonald's next door,
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny, while people are voting, Laurel actually wrote in and she said they have Wi-Fi at their dealership, but they disable theirs after hours. Now that's interesting.
That's interesting. Maybe it's a security issue, or maybe it's a concern over unchaperoned customers.
I don't know, but you know what? Let's find out what the rest of the audience is thinking.
Yeah, there's always a little bit of a hesitation about Wi-Fi and concern over people breaking into your stuff. And I know that there's people around here who, and in most businesses, who can partition off those things so that customers can't break into your stuff.
Right,
Sure,
right.
sure.
So let's close this poll.
Using things out on the lot, like QR codes and things of that nature, it might not be a bad idea to leave it open. There's so many after-hour shoppers that'll be looking for information on your inventory and what you've got going on in the store.
Yep.
Well, guess what? We closed the poll, and right now we are sharing the results. So, Mike and Steve, 66% of today's audience said yes, they do offer free Wi-Fi to visitors, and their customers love it.
I knew we had a sophisticated audience
today. I could have told you that. Okay, let's go through the rest.
Awesome.
Let's go through the rest of these results. 8% said yes, they have Wi-Fi, but they don't promote it. 5% said yes, but only in the service area. So that was 5% only have it in the service area, which is a big improvement, because I think at one point it was the majority where dealerships would have it only in the service area, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. 13% of today's audience said yes, but it's password protected, and only 8% of today's audience said no, but they're thinking about it. 8% have no free Wi-Fi for visitors.
Well, that's great. I think that's encouraging, and I think we're going to find if we did the same poll in a year, the numbers would skew even further in favor of access. Because, you know, this is really about a simple concept of transparency. The more transparent we are as an industry, the more internet-friendly we're going to be. And I think everybody kind of appreciates that. Let's move on because I do want to leave time for questions. The next part of our presentation is going to be an opportunity for us to sort out all of the different flavors of mobile versions. And we're going to spend 5 or 6 minutes just helping you understand the difference between, say, browser-based and native-based applications and what might be working and not working, and also some techniques to kind of build on your reputation and to enhance what you're doing online. And then we're going to go right into the final section, which is 3 different strategies that I hope we'll have time to debate, because the strategy part is really where we're going to be. So in the world of mobile, I think everybody realizes there's 2 big flavors. One is the browser-based, that's sort of the web, HTTP, www stuff. And then there's native applications. These are the things you download from the Android store and iTunes. We're going to talk about each individually. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but the reason we wanted to talk about this is that it gives you a foundation for building up from wherever you are today. If you're just in the browser world, you can build up from there. If you're in the browser and app world, you can build up from there. You can always build. And so we want to lay this foundation first. So let's talk about the browser world for a moment and why the browser world is important no matter what you do. And this is a study that was done by BII Kelsey Associates. It was done last year. And I took this out, folks, because it just struck me that this is so important, a fact to realize. Mobile search, meaning the people who are looking for your dealership on mobile devices, particularly smartphones. Mobile search is forecasted. The number of people clicking on mobile search is expected to pass desktop search by the year 2015. Not far away, which means more people will be looking up things on their phones than on their desktops.
This doesn't surprise me in the least. You know, we live busy lives these days. It's the most convenient way for us to access information we need when we need it.
Absolutely. So, if we believe in the experts, and it may be 2016, 2017, but it's going to happen, then what are we doing today to make sure that we're ready for that day when mobile search is the prominent device? I've done a screenshot here. I know it's a little bit busy, but I'm kind of counting on everybody to kind of scooch up to their screen and make sure they get a good view of this thing. And you know, this is an interesting little story. I was out looking for, and Steve's smiling because he knows where this is going. I was out looking for a good example of what I thought search should be like on a mobile device. And it turns out I picked one of Steve's old stores.
That's right.
And I know you're not there, so this may not be your work, but
I'm going to claim it.
Maybe something. Well, yeah, exactly. So the smart Toyota people can come in and say, no, it's all us, and that's fine too. But there's a couple of things I wanted to point out to those of you who are listening. Number one, look at the red dot. I'm going to get my pointer here and just highlight an already highlighted area. This section here. Don't let this escape your notice. Mobile search. Google Search has this great device where the customer in a paid environment, remember the shaded area is the paid area, can click to call. And we're going to talk about click to call in a little bit, because what you're going to find out about click to call, I'm going to say it here, I'm going to say it in a couple of minutes, it can increase the yield from your mobile site by a factor of 5. So if you're getting 5 leads today, 5 times more. So if you are doing mobile search, make sure you've got click-to-call. We're also going to talk about making sure if you do click-to-call that you've got a store process, because it's one thing to advertise fancy stuff, it's another to execute. If you can't execute, don't get yourself in that situation. Fix the execution first, then go advertise. The other thing that I'd like to share with you here is look at the organic search that comes up here. Of course, the mobile devices have maps and they leverage the mapping technology, but look at all the other great stuff that came up as a result of fully optimizing the mobile search. When you look at this on a phone, all you see is Smart Toyota. And you have to scroll down really far to find a competitor.
You know, and that makes perfect sense. There's a reason for that. One of the great things about your mobile strategy as far as it's concerned in search, you really need to look at maximizing the real estate, because just like the way people search on their PC or their desktops, studies show that customers will not leave the first page of a search if they find what they're looking for. So you want to maximize that real estate.
Search is such an important topic to us as an industry, and maximizing the search. I thought we'd stop and pause for a poll question on search, and then we're going to talk about, once you've done search, how to make sure you get the full value of it when we come back from the poll question.
I think that's great. Okay, audience, here we go. Next poll question is up, and we're ready for your answers. So the question before you is your SEM currently optimized for mobile? Please select one of the following answers. Is it yes, and we've noticed an increase in traffic? Or maybe the answer for you is yes, but we're not really sure what we're doing. Is the answer, I'm not sure if we're optimized for mobile? Or maybe you know for a fact that no, you're not optimized for mobile, but you do think it's important. Or how about, no, I didn't know I was supposed to be optimized for mobile. Whatever the answer is, we want to know. So please send us your votes, and once we get a majority of the votes, we're going to close the poll and share the results. I have to say, I'm looking at the votes coming in, gentlemen. This is going to be a very, very interesting one. I think you're going to be surprised by the answers that we're getting.
I always am.
You are? Well, the votes are coming in very nicely. Audience, we really appreciate when you get involved with the voting and let us know what's happening in your world and at your dealership. Really helps us to figure out what's going on in the entire automotive industry, right, guys?
You bet. These, you know, I love the poll feature, Eliana, because oftentimes I'll ask people to raise hands just to sort of get a sense of what the best practices are. This is the equivalent of that. I love it. It's great.
Right. Okay, and just to be clear, when we talk about SEM, we're talking about search engine marketing or pay-per-click marketing or anything that you have where you pay for advertising online in your digital marketing efforts. So is your pay-per-click or your search engine marketing, do you have it optimized for mobile? And I have to say, the few times where I've done a search for something on mobile, that stuff actually works on me. I didn't think it would, but it does. I do click on the ads.
I do too. I'm more inclined, because of the small form factor of the mobile device, I'm personally more inclined to see that stuff because there's less clutter on the page.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. Grabs your attention and holds it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's close this poll and share these crazy results. Here we go. 58% of today's audience said, yeah, we do currently optimize for mobile, and we've noticed an increase in traffic. So
Nice.
58%, nice, right? The runner-up to that is 30% of today's audience says that they're not sure if they're optimized for mobile. 30%. Now,
I'll bet you they're going to go ask.
let's hope they do. 6% of today's audience said yes, but we're not really sure what we're doing. And even 3% said no, we don't think it's important, and no, I didn't know I was supposed to. So,
well, let me just speak to for a moment to the people who are saying, I'm not so sure, because I'm not so sure. I think search engine marketing requires a lot of time and effort and energy. Making mistakes is okay, and eventually you find a little niche. And as soon as you found the perfect niche, somebody comes in and steals it from you. You know, so it's a dynamic kind of an event. But I think that if you look at search engine marketing, it's a big opportunity because of where the traffic's going, and it's a big opportunity to make sure that the dealer across the street isn't stealing your stuff.
Yeah, you know, Mike made a good point early on. It's okay to make mistakes, but you can only make mistakes if you give it a try. So I encourage you folks that aren't doing anything right now to take advantage of the opportunity now.
So let's move on, and we're going to get right to the strategies and some more tactics and what you see on the screen in front of you. So let's pause for a second. We've talked about the various growth opportunities in mobile. We've talked about the various flavors of mobile, and now we're going to talk about some actual tactics in the browser world. What you see here, and frankly, if you're doing search engine marketing and you're spending the dealership's money, the question you should ask yourself is, am I getting a return on my investment? Have I done everything to make sure that I'm getting a return on my investment? And what you're going to see in the next few slides is the way to do that. We want to make sure that your mobile, the expression of your brand in the mobile environment is correct. And how do you test for that? Well, if you look at the slide here, and I have chosen specifically the Bachman Group. They happen to be Black Book customers, which is great. They also happen to be using the DEALERUN platform, which I think is really elegant and clean and well constructed. And what you see here is a parallel. So when you go, at the end of this call, I'm hoping some of you will do this. When you go and look at your mobile site, and I'll bet you, Steve, while we're talking, some people have actually already done that.
Oh, yeah.
Test for yourself. Does my mobile site, even though it has limitations in the form factor, does it represent the quality of my brand that I'm trying to project in the marketplace? What you see here is the Bachman Group is using the same color palette. They're using the same priorities, the same offers. They've stressed service on their mobile device. A nice parallel in the theme and messaging, which means there's a consistency that the customers will experience. There's a consistency between the brand site and the mobile device, which is good for the dealer's brand. That's something you should test for.
You know, I paid big bucks to learn that, Mike. We paid a marketing company. You know, by the way, we used DEALERUN sites for all of the 26 stores that I just came from, and we spent big bucks with these guys. And I learned new terminology, integrated marketing communications, meaning one voice, one message. And they made sure that my website looked just like the site on my mobile app. Very, very important, folks.
I think it is. In a perfect world, all of the marketing messages, direct mail, television, the themes in radio would all come together in one place. We're not there as an industry yet, and I don't think that we should fret over that. But we should fix the things that we can fix. And that means making sure that your website, now, not just having it thematically agree, but it's got to be functionally worthwhile.
So you're saying the same call to action type stuff.
Exactly right. And you see some real good ones here. There was a study done by Cars.com and Nielsen mid-year last year that basically asked mobile users, 1,500 of them, when you're shopping for mobile activities on the dealer's lot, what are you looking for? So remember those dots we saw on the map, Steve, that we saw earlier, the Angry Birds guy and the inventory guy? This is what those people are looking for. Not surprisingly, and we've seen this since 1999, pricing information. Customers want to know what they can buy the car for. But they also want to know information about the dealership. Who are you and why should I do business with you? What kind of vehicles do you have on the lot? Are there reviews? Give me contact information if I wanted to go to your website. Similarly, if you kind of put a hierarchy together and you test your mobile site, what should it have on it? Well, it ought to have all of the things that the Nielsen study recommends. And in Mike McFall's personal view, it ought to have at least 3 ways for the customer to raise their hand and engage. I'm hearing sirens. It's not because we're running late.
It's because this is such a hot topic.
It's a hot topic. Okay,
it's the fire
thank
department.
you. I appreciate that. So you ought to have at least 3 or 4 ways for the customer to engage. What kind of ways for them to engage? Contact us. Click to call, and you'll see a click to call here in Peak Kia South, which we picked at random. Happens to be a dealer on site as well. Inventory search customers are wanting for. We also recommend value your trade, whatever service you might use, and any other way that you have for a customer to engage. Because remember, you've paid money through search to get these customers to visit your mobile site. The way you capitalize on that investment is to get them to engage.
Absolutely. Give them as many ways to reach out to you and get their questions answered as you possibly can.
Which makes all the sense in the world. Whatever, and I hate to use the word bait, but whatever incentive you give the customer, whether it's contact us, whether it's get information on incentives, whether it's value your trade, all of that is going to give you yield. And remember, we talked earlier about click-to-call, something we'll come back to. Now, to summarize this section, and we're going to do another poll question in just a minute, and then we're going to move right to some tactics that I will tell you, the tactics part, I don't want to oversell this, but when I've given this presentation in the past, this is the part where people stand up and take pictures of the screen, so you know you've got good stuff. Just a reminder, just one more anchor point for those of you who are on the call who need to make a case to store management for making a prudent investment in mobile. The store management's going to ask you, where do we get a return on our investment? And let me tell you from our experience here, a solid, unequivocal endorsement, mobile will get you 20% more benefit today. And remember that chart, it's only going to go up.
I think you're being conservative.
Well, I probably am. What we have found in our application with Value Your Trade is that when we take a dealer who's getting 100 leads a month from us, from their basic website, and they add our service when it's mobilely enhanced, in other words, mobile enabled, not just sticking a link and hoping that the browser version works, because the browser version of a lot of tools won't work on your website. You need to have something that's made for mobile. So our service adjusts itself to the mobile environment. We see, Steve, a 20% increase in leads. So that's 120 leads to that dealer when we add mobile to their service.
That is a huge lift.
So that brings us to 40 minutes in, about 10 more minutes to go, and I'd like to pause one more time and do a quick poll question.
Sounds like a plan.
Let's do it. All right, audience, we got another poll question for you. And you've been really, really great today about answering the poll question, so I hope you'll get involved again. Next poll question is, when was the last time that you reviewed your mobile site functions and or features? And please just select one of the following options. Was it within a week? Was it within the last month? Maybe it was within the last 6 months? Or you've just never done that. Whatever it is, let us know. Can't go wrong. When was the last time you reviewed your mobile site functions and features? And hopefully you even have a mobile website, right guys?
Well, yes. If you don't, you came to the right place. You should be thinking about it. And there are plenty of folks out there. You know, the first place I would go if I didn't have a mobile site is to whoever was providing my regular website, and I would challenge them to build one for me for sure.
Yeah, most of the really strong web providers out there today can provide you with a great mobile opportunity.
Fully functioning, not just a brochureware, but something that really is optimized for what the customers want to do. As we looked at earlier, make sure you've got your inventory on there and all the other features.
Right, right.
Works really well for me.
Okay, so we are going to, thank you so much for the votes, everyone. Really appreciate it. Oh, and we have people writing, and I can't participate in the polls because I'm taking this webinar on my iPhone on the go, but it's a great topic. You're not alone.
Listen, whoever you are, you're the best. That's great.
We're going to get your votes, you know, we'll just pull them out and attribute them to you. Okay.
Please don't webinar and drive, though.
Yes, don't do that. Okay, let's close the poll and share the results with you. Okay, you know what? I like the way that our audience answered this because I think this is extremely representative of what's going on right now all over the automotive industry. So the majority of people, 56% of today's audience, said that they did check their mobile site functions and features within the last week. 46%. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
Now, we should have asked how many did it within the last hour.
Oh, well, I don't know about that. They were getting ready for our webinar. They couldn't possibly.
Of course.
Okay. 36% said they did it within the last month. 11% said they did it within the last 7 months. And a mere 7% of today's audience said that they have never done it. So it goes in a nice little all the way down.
Thrilled to be working with such advanced users. I shudder to think about a poll like this given industry-wide to folks who aren't on the leading edge, because I think there's a lot of, when I look at mobile sites, there's a lot of just not good stuff out there, and we just can't have that. The customers will become disenfranchised, they'll walk away, they'll get frustrated. It's worse to disappoint them than to not have engaged at all.
Yeah, very, very true.
So let's move ahead. A couple more things we'd like to share with you. Finally, and this is kind of the anchor moment. If you don't connect with a customer, you're not going to sell a car. We're all in the business of setting appointments and converting those appointments to sales. And there's 3 or 4 ways to do this, 3 that we can think of. We talked about click-to-call, and I'm not going to belabor this, but folks, check your website. If you don't have click-to-call on it, get it, and then make sure that that call comes into a place that can handle that customer. In fact, if you can get a dedicated number and run it into your Internet department or BDC, all the better, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah. You know, one of the great practices we had is on that click-to-call, went to my Internet person. If they got a nice, warm customer, I could do 3-way calling on my smartphone and hand it off to a salesperson in real time. Just a powerful tool.
You bet. Now, there's QR codes out there. Frankly, I'm not really enamored with QR codes. I think it's hard for people to use. You know, we offer them to customers who are sophisticated enough to need them, but I don't see a lot of use of the QR codes. I think they're going to get bypassed sooner or later, don't you?
You know, I do.
Yeah.
The technology for the readers just isn't advanced enough, and I struggle with downloading some of those.
Yeah, and we're supposed to be good at this. And then the final item, and everybody sees text messaging and they say, oh, yikes, I don't want to get thrown in jail. Well, there's a lot of baggage with texting in terms of regulatory compliance, but I will tell you, as Steve mentioned earlier, there are some shoppers, young and growing up, who only communicate through texting. When we can arrive at a permission-based texting, that's a win for the customer and a win for us. And we'll come back to that on a future session. Let's go to native applications. These are the ones where we finish browsers. These are the ones that are downloaded through iTunes and through the Apple Store, rather, and the Android Store. And basically, these are early leading-edge kind of things. And there's consumer-facing and there's dealer-facing. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on these. Steve, what was your experience? You had a native application, a downloadable app when you were in retail. What was your experience with it?
You know, I recognized early on this was a huge opportunity, especially for my existing customer base, because, you know, while they were in the store, I could download the app for them or help them download it, and guess what? My store now resides on their smartphone from now till whenever.
You bet. So you're connected with them, and a lot of those connections are what I think I hear you saying is, while native apps may be useful in selling to the new customers, they're even more leverageable and more useful as a retention device.
Sure, and you're going to get into it. Think about the push alerts and specials and staying connected with my owner base. That's just huge.
Well, great setup for this slide. It's almost as if you saw it coming. There's a customer-facing set of things. If you were to begin to explore this, and one of our strategies we're going to share with you later includes native apps, look at all the things that these native apps can do today. Inventory, incentives, repair order status, service scheduling, roadside assistance, accident reporting, owner's manuals. All of these things are being built into these native apps, and my hope is that the companies who are building this stuff, who are in a very early stage, can get through that very difficult stage of building the stuff new and come out with stuff that we can use as an industry, because it's just exciting. But I will tell you, it's not all there yet. So let's be careful when people come to us and present this stuff to vet those opportunities to make sure, in fact, that what they're offering you really works.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, something else that's great to remember, especially with native apps, did you know that the average American is less than 36 inches away from their smartphones 24 hours a day?
My phone's even closer than that. So one final thing, again, what's important to us is, as industry members and as leaders, connecting with customers. And again, if you've tuned out, tune back in for this. This one's worth listening to. Connecting with customers is how we sell cars. Now the process, the historical process, has been to use email. And I know a lot of us still rely on email, and it still works pretty well. When the customer has engaged you, their open rate's pretty good. But in terms of reaching customers by email, it's becoming less and less effective. How many times does it take you to reach out to a customer by email and by calling until they finally engage? 5, 6?
Actually, the average is 7 to 8 calls just to reach a live customer.
Just to reach a live customer. So I would tell you, when we do a trade appraisal for someone who's done it on a desktop, and we send out a confirming email, most of those emails get opened on mobile phones, believe it or not. So email, we're not sure what the future of email is, kind of iffy. We talked about text, and the cool thing about texting when it's done with the customer's permission and when it's done in compliance is that it's opened 94% of the time. And the percentage, the 6% that don't open it, don't know how to work their phones. The texting is powerful, and what you'll see in this slide here, and let me just highlight it for you for a second. What you'll see in this slide is this idea of embedding. Now, this is a customer who may have been in your store and texted something to you that says, I'd like to communicate with you by text, text me back. I'd like to know what my car's worth. I'd like to know what this particular piece on the lot's going to cost me. They've given you permission until they take that permission away. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I get what permission's all about.
Opt in.
Opt in and opt out. Make sure that you stop doing it. But basically, what you see here in this is a URL. So how cool is that to be able to send a customer a message and embed their answer into a URL? Hey, you were looking at a piece on the lot. Here's the link to that vehicle. You were looking to value your trade. You were looking for something. Here's a link to that. Immediate. And what that will do on smartphones is open a browser window and engage the customer.
That is just tremendous technology.
And then, of course, the final option is push notifications. All of us who have smartphones have seen this. You can enable or disable these push notifications when you download a native app. That native app can send you a message that says, time for service, or there's a new incentive out, or anything. I would imagine. It's a great tool. Let's move right ahead to customer-facing apps and service. Now, I'm going to spend just a minute switching from customer-facing to sales and service applications just to highlight what we've seen in the industry, and then we're going to do the 3 strategies. Basically, what we're seeing is vendors in the industry taking bridging the DMS and sometimes the CRM to pull that all into the tablet, meaning that you can actually get the data you need for appraisals and an F&I menu and CRM. This is early stage stuff, and I caution everyone to go carefully when they look at using tablets as selling devices. I believe that the industry will get there, and so do a lot of experts. And the news reports from AutoNation and Sonic and some others have said that these companies are investing millions and millions of dollars in enabling the sales process through tablets in their stores. And certainly if they're doing it, other people are thinking about it. Again, it's an early stage event. Let's get right to the close here, and we'll leave time for questions. And I thank you all for hanging in through what I hope was an interesting overview. Let's look at mobile back to 30,000 feet, backing up from texting, backing up from the web browsers. Let's look at it as a strategy for a minute. What are the challenges and issues? Well, back to 1999, we got to reinvent ourselves. We need new store processes that work texting and that work mobile customers into the mix. A way to get connected to the customer who's out on the lot using your Wi-Fi but may not be ready to engage. Finding out how to bridge that last 50 feet to get that customer into the buying process. There's new skills that we all have to learn. And frankly, I'm still trying to learn some of the old skills. The devices are costly, and of course, structure. So the question for you is, how does mobile fit into your retail strategy? And my counsel and my advice to you would be, think first about the last thing, which is the appointment and the sale, and work backwards to your website, to search, to mobile enabling things, to functionality, because that way you'll know what you're building upstream works in the retail environment. There's a lot of benefit to the mobile programs, and I can't tell you how excited I am to share this with you. Getting ahead on mobile means you can beat the competition who's not there yet. It means you can potentially, by enabling mobile and tablet devices in your store, reduce time to buy, improve your CSI. There's a lot of big opportunities here that we will see in the next couple of years. Not just increasing sales, but increasing the experience that goes with buying a car. And we all know that's an opportunity for us. And finally, it's just cool. Just, you know, if you're one of these people who likes gadgets, it's just cool. So I'm going to offer for you now, and then, by the way, the questions are coming in, and I have a feeling after you see these last 3 slides, you're going to have some comments for me, and you're probably going to say, I disagree with you or I agree with you. That's okay, too. My job here today is just to stir up a little conversation, not to be right about everything. Steve's the guy who's usually right. So I've got 3 different flavors I want to share with you on what you can do. The first flavor is, I'm calling it the safe approach. The second flavor I'm going to call the ambitious approach. And the third flavor I'm going to call the aggressive approach. And I found a baby picture to go with each one of them.
Is that your baby picture?
That is not, oh no. That's probably a professional baby.
A professional baby. Did you just say that?
So, I bet he's got an agent and I owe money. So the safe approach. If nothing else, start here. In fact, if you haven't started, or even if you've started, test to be sure that you've got the safe approach down. Just learn, investigate. You're all making the first step by being on this call. Congratulations to you on that. You've already started the safe approach no matter where you are. Start to get some metrics around this. Talk to your peers. Challenge the vendors that you're working with. When the salesperson comes in and brings you the donuts, ask them for a little bit more than empty calories. Ask them for some insight on what they see in mobile. And you know what? If they can't answer you, it tells you something, doesn't it? Monitor what you're doing and get that click-to-call going and assign that 800 number. These are things that are already in place. But you know what? If you follow the safe approach, if nothing else, you can go to the store management and say, I'm seeing something here that you need to see too. And you'll have the metrics and you'll have the foundation in place that the store management will say, you know what, I get it. So, second baby picture, the ambitious approach. And you know what, Steve, I know people only remember about 10 or 20% of what they see in a presentation. I have a feeling everybody's going to go away from this remembering the watermelon picture, and that's going to be what they remember. So if that's you, that's okay. Because being the watermelon solution is a good thing. This is right in the middle. Make sure you've got a full-featured mobile site. Set some goals for what you want to do with mobile. Get mobile search going with click-to-call. Get that Wi-Fi thing in place. Figure out if you can get texting going on with customers using signs and offers in the retail environment. Hey, you want to know more about this car? Text this number and I'll do it for you. And make sure you've got a store process that works. Make sure your CRM knows a mobile lead from a not mobile lead. And make sure when you figure out it's a mobile lead, you know what to do with it. And finally, get a sales process in the showroom that everybody gets, that everybody subscribes to, because everybody wants to make money on mobile. And now we're going to do the aggressive approach, and then we'll go to some questions. 55 minutes in. Here we are. The aggressive approach. No surprise, and Steve, that isn't you, right?
Well, I looked like that last night at the Rib Shack.
So, the aggressive approach, the other 2 approaches were more tactical. The aggressive approach says, let's pause and take a time out. Let's get a strategy going here that management supports, that people in the store get, that's discussed, and that's measured at our monthly meetings. Let's make mobile a topic that we talk about once a month when we talk about how we did.
That's a great idea.
That's sort of the monthly operating review. Just put it on the agenda and say, let's talk about mobile. And it will force people, I should have put a bullet for that. It will force people to put that on here. Find out who gets it and who doesn't in the store and get behind the people who do. Get some money dedicated to mobile, a better site, mobile search, investing in testing some new things. And then, if you really want to be aggressive, get your vendors in and challenge them not just to teach you mobile, but to take you forward strategically in mobile. And if they aren't doing it for you and they can't do it for you, think about whether you've got the right relationship. So, those are the 3 flavors. That's where we stand today, and we're right on schedule. I'd like to pause, and I've been looking forward to this part of the show for one more poll question before we take questions. I'm going to turn it over to you.
That's right, audience. Here we go. Last poll question. We want to know which baby are you, basically. So which of the strategies best fits your current situation? Do you think you're going to go for the safe approach? Are you the watermelon baby? You're going to go for the ambitious approach? Is the aggressive approach nothing? If you're going to go big or go home, basically. Or do you think you're going to do an even more aggressive mobile marketing approach than even Mike McFall just showed us? Or are you going to do nothing at all? Whatever your vote is, we want to know it. So please get online, get in front of your keyboards, and let us know. Safe approach, ambitious approach, aggressive approach, even more aggressive approach, or you're just not so sure this whole mobile thing is for you. Whatever the answer is, we're curious to find out. Please vote. As soon as we get a majority of the votes, we're going to close the poll and share the results.
And there are no wrong answers.
Good. There's good answers, though, coming in, I got to tell you.
I think that's great.
Okay,
well, I know the questions are coming in, too, and this is a great time to remind everyone after they've finished their voting, if they do have a question or a comment or a rebuttal or even a criticism, gosh, we love to hear it. We only represent to know what we know, and there's a lot of things we don't know. We just wanted to share what we could with you today, and we're thankful for that opportunity. But if you've got a comment or something that would advance the knowledge of the entire group that we may not have hit on, we're open to that, and we'll have a few minutes to do that as well, won't we today?
Sure. Stay as long as it's interesting. How's that? Let's close.
Can't promise that part.
Oh, well,
we're going to try.
When did that happen?
You know what? You already played Prince for me today, so I'm in a very, very good mood.
Okay. It's Throwback Thursday.
Yeah, you guys couldn't see it, but I was busting a move.
You really was.
I would be surprised if anyone on this call wasn't busting a move. I have to say, I was busting a move. I was doing my little chair dance over here while you guys were playing that. Okay, let's close this poll and share the results. So, you know, 13% of today's audience said they're going to go with the safe approach. But an astonishing 67% of today's audience says that they're watermelon babies and they're going for the ambitious approach. Boom. 17% said that they're going to go aggressive. And a mere brave 4% of today's audience said that they're going to do even more than your aggressive approach, Mike. They're going big.
Yeah, go big.
Let me just say how thrilled I am with the numbers. If it had been 67% safe, I would feel like we hadn't inspired anyone today. And for those of you in the 4% category, my email address follows, and I'd love to hear from you about what you're seeing that works and what isn't, because you're the scouts. You're the people that define where the industry will go, and that's really exciting stuff. We're right at the hour, and I know the questions are coming in. Let me just take a moment to thank Steve again for helping out. You did a great job today. I really appreciate it.
I truly enjoyed it.
Eliana, thank you too.
Oh, thank you.
You helped us, and the folks at DealerUn for sponsoring it. We have a few minutes left for anyone who'd like to kind of jump in. And then we'll do our prize.
Actually, we're going to do the prize right now. You guys are going to sing.
Right,
you guys are going to sing like a theme song for me, right? While we give away this awesome prize, because I'm a little bit upset I can't win it.
Let's do the prize. And you know what? You know why she wants us to be singing? That way she knows we're not trying to get the prize for ourselves. We'll be occupied.
I cannot multitask.
I can't
You're
either.
asking me to sing and type.
Not going to happen.
Just not going to happen.
Well, you know, it's so great. I love that we have so many great companies that come on here and they give away awesome prize. Every prize is awesome because who can come to a webinar and say that they won something, right? So we love when our companies put a prize to it. But a lot of times the prizes are for the dealership. This one's for you. So good luck, everyone, because, boy, I'm jealous. I wish I could win it. So if you missed it at the beginning of the webinar, I announced that our good friends at Black Book Online are giving away, they're giving away an iPad mini today. It's valued at $350, and only one of you is going to win it. So you had to be paying attention because we're going to ask a question from Mike McFall's presentation that you just saw. First person to write in the correct response is going to win this totally awesome prize. Did I say I was jealous? I did. Okay, so get in front of your keyboards. Usually it goes to the fastest typer. And I have to say, this is not an easy question. So you had to really be paying attention to know the answer to this question. So good luck, everyone. Here we go. Get in front of your keyboards. Good luck. Here's the question. Question is, in what year will mobile search outpace desktop local search? Wow, 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 wow. Can I just say, Mike McFall and Steve Knight, you guys must have done a fabulous job of teaching, because almost everyone has gotten this sucker right.
Wow.
I have to scroll up to see who the very first person was who wrote in the right response. Let's see. Zach Freed had the correct response. He was the very first person to write in, and the correct response was 2015. Zach Freed, congratulations. Please write on in and let us know what dealership you're from. I am very, very pleased to be, and you guys did not do the music for me. I just noticed that. We talked about this. You were going to do the Jeopardy music for me.
You know, my feet were doing a little Snoopy dance under the desk, though.
Okay, that didn't help. Zach Freed is from Red McCombs Automotive Team. Zach Freed, congratulations. Of course, we want to also thank Black Book Online for their generosity. Zach, let me write your name down so we know.
Congratulations, Zach. Good job.
And Zach, if you could, write on in and let me know the mailing address for you. We're very, very happy for you. Okay, we're going to get to the questions now. So audience, if you have questions for Steve and Mike, time to write them on in. We're going to start with this very first one. I have to go scrolling all the way back up here to get to the first question. Okay, the first question came in from Mary, and Mary wanted to know, what do you guys think are the top browsers that people use? And Mike, please make sure you put it on that picture with your cute little mugshot on it. You know people like to see who they're talking to, right?
Sure. Let me see if I can find that. There. Oh, that's not me.
There you go. Look at those two handsome fellas. Okay, so we're going to get to some really great questions here.
I think in the Apple, first of all, I'm not a technician. I'm a sales guy. So I'll give you the sales guy answer, and then you can go and check with the technical people. We test everything we do on all of the major mobile platforms to make sure there's compatibility. And surprisingly, there isn't always. I think the quick answer is, of course, Safari in the Apple world, Google Chrome and Microsoft, all of the big browsers that are operating in the desktop environment are operating in the mobile environment. The key issue is to make sure that your online presence is QA'd and tested in every environment, and that it works in every environment, and that way you'll be covered at least 80% of the time. Do you have any favorite browsers? Which ones do you use?
You know, I'm with you, but I'm a big Safari fan. It seems to work really well for me.
I got like a whole folder full of browsers that I don't use hardly ever, and I don't know why, but they're out there. The ones that I like, Mary, do the best job of recognizing what we call the sensing code, which is when the server says, I need to know what kind of a device you are. Please report back to me. And that's important because in the new world of adaptive design, and now I'm off the reservation in terms of my knowledge base. I just heard this in a meeting, and I'm going to repeat it because
it sounds good.
In the world of adaptive design, providers like us and like DEALERUN have to morph their stuff so that it works on every browser. So I hope, Mary, that's a good answer. Safari if you're in the Apple world, and I'm not an Android guy, but I got several you can download. What else?
Okay, thank you very much, Mary, for that. Our next question comes to us from Andy, and he says, should we be doing mobile-only PPC campaigns, and why?
Great question, Andy. Let me just make sure I understand what you're saying. I don't think you're suggesting that you should abandon pay-per-click in the desktop environment. I think what you're asking is, should you have a strategic approach to pay-per-click that is mobile-based? And if that is your question, my answer is definitively yes. Not only that, Andy, but I would suggest that you work with your vendor, or if you're doing it yourself, to make sure you've got not just a separate budget, but a separate ROI and metrics for the pay-per-click, including the metrics that you can get from ancillary services that create leads and the phone calls that come in. The more measurement you can do against mobile pay-per-click, the better it would be. Steve, can you add to that? Because I know you were actually doing a lot of mobile pay-per-click.
Yeah, you nailed it. It's all about measuring it. When I'm reporting back to the folks who write me the check, I want to make sure that they see the return on the investment. So make sure, absolutely, that you have a mobile PPC strategy. Measure it well, report it well to the folks that it's important to.
Okay. Well, Andy, I hope that helps you out. And this goes very, very nicely into our next question, which comes to us from Joe. Joe says, how much of my marketing budget should I be spending on mobile PPC a month? Is there a formula? Do you have any advice for Joe?
Sure. A whole bunch, Joe. The reason I hesitated, first of all, it's a great question, Joe, and thank you for that, because it is a question that's on everybody's mind. How much should I spend? So the short answer is it really kind of depends on your situation. But let's see if we can arrive at a general rule of thumb that you can then apply depending on your own situation. If you look at mobile as being 30% of the internet opportunity, then at least 30% of your investment might be going against mobile. Now, you're going to overinvest because mobile's still in a bit of a growth mode. So your ROI may be a little bit lower on mobile compared to desktop. The other thing I would tell you is, we're seeing incrementally, as you saw earlier, 20% lift from adding mobile devices. If you invest against that, that 20% could be 30 or 40 or 50%. So what I say, and I have a very skilled marketing guy who works for me who comes in and says, how much would you like to spend? And my answer is usually, I'd like to spend until the last dollar doesn't make me any more money, then I'd like to stop spending. So that's my cheapskate way out of your question, Joe, but if there was a formula, what do you think, Steve? 30%, does that feel right?
30% sounds about right. That's a good place to start. You may even want to start smaller and build up. But to Mike's point, pay attention to the metrics. And where there comes a point where you reach that saturation point is what I call it, where your investment isn't showing the maximum return, then back off and wait for mobile or your strategy to grow into it from there.
Thank you for your question, Joe. That was great.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Okay, we're going to move on to this very interesting question from Jill. She says, my question is, what is Black Book doing to make trade-in appraisals easier for consumers to complete on their mobile phones? And she says, the reason I'm asking is because other stores use a mobile trade-in app, but it is hard. So I'm hoping that Black Books is easier. Do you have any comment on that, Mike?
Well, Jill, thank you so much for the question. It's very kind of you to think about our business. Our mission here, of course, is to raise everybody's sort of awareness of mobile. And the reason I pursued this is because we were in the mobile business very early, Jill. We got into this with a mobile version of our trade appraisal service ahead of everybody else. And in fact, to my knowledge, I think we're still ahead of everybody else in that regard. We are. What we learned, Jill, from this experience is that the things that you do on a desktop that are familiar, the mouse stuff, it just doesn't work on a phone. The fear I had, Jill, when we first did our trade appraisal on phones, is that it's a lot of work. It's work for a purpose because it gets really serious buyers out the other side, and it's work because the customer really needs to want it. But there's several screens. We redesigned the screens, and in fact, we actually eliminated 2 different processes as part of our online service to make it easier for people. What we found, Jill, is that we put a metric against this. We said we know how many people will start our application on the desktop and finish it. We'd like to see the same number of people start our application on a mobile phone and finish it, and in fact, it's exactly the same. Now, I'm not sure I can explain to you exactly why, but I have a personal theory. My theory is that we hit the timing just right, that we actually waited long enough until people got good at typing with their thumbs. And so the notion of typing in your name and scrolling down for all the stuff you have to do is easier now. Our application will sense if you're on a mobile phone and automatically adjust the screen size to accommodate that. So we've actually seen a real increase in in this use. The other thing, Jill, I would tell you, and again, great question, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about our personal experience. The other thing I would share with you is click to call. We recognize that there are several screens that you have to go through, and even though we optimized them for the mobile device, we've also put a test out in the marketplace to see if we can just skip the whole process and let the customer call us and we'll do it for them. We don't have the early results on that, but I am personally committed to finding a way not just to be in the mobile space, but to be there with a better service, and I think click to call is the next thing. Thank you for that question, Jill.
Thank you so much, and great answer. Awesome. Jill already said, awesome, thanks for answering my question. There you have it. So thank you so much for that. Okay, we only have a couple more, and of course we're already over time. So I do want to get to our friend Stan, who was saying hi to us earlier in the show. He says, thank you for the wake-up call on smartphone usage. The owner is going to love this. I can't believe we are this far behind.
Well, Dan, let me thank you for your candor. I know that there are parts of my business that aren't where it should be, where I'd like it to be, and I think the notion of continuous improvement, of saying to yourself, I learned something new today, and I know I can do something good about it, good for the store, good for me, good for our brand. That's what this is really about, and you really hit it well, and I thank you for that observation, and I hope others of you who are feeling the same way will not feel a sense of remorse, but a sense of opportunity in what we've talked about today.
Stan, thank you so much for that comment. Just a couple more, if you're okay with sticking it out with me a little bit more, Mike.
You bet, but you're going to have to hum to us.
I know, really, am I? Okay, maybe the theme song from
Gilligan's Island.
Something. Okay, Sarah wrote in, who offers mobile credit applications? Is there anyone that you can think of off the top of your head?
We have a service that's not a credit application, but it's a pre-qualifier. It's a credit score estimator that we've promoted with a great deal of success, and it's now mobile enabled. I think the best advice I could give you, Sarah, is to, because that's a great question, the best advice is to go to your website provider and ask them if they are there yet. I believe some of them are. You know, with the credit applications, you've got issues of security, you've got a lot of sensitive data exchanging, and you've got some complexity in terms of the user experience. But I don't think I can give Sarah a better answer than that, and I don't think it's a very good answer. What do you know? What do you?
You know, I'm right in line with you. I suggest, Sarah, the first thing you do is call your web provider, or if you have someone that provides a mobile app for you now, reach out to those folks and see what they have to offer. And to Mike's point, make sure that it covers all the security issues that may arise by using a mobile app. You want to take care of your customers.
Yeah, good question.
Okay.
Again, just one add-on. Sarah, one reason why your question is especially relevant and useful, and a challenge to the website community, the website provider community, is it's another way to get a lead off of your website. And those credit app leads, we know they close well.
Oh, yeah.
They really do. Thank you.
Great question. Okay, last one comes to us from Sherry, and I hope you can help her out. She says, anti-spam laws are going to become final this summer and will surely impact Canadian efforts for mobile and text. Do you have any advice for our Canadian dealers, Mike and Steve?
Sherry, to be honest with you, it's enough of a chore to keep up with what's going on in the U.S. I think as an industry, we need to be hypersensitive about privacy and spam and permission-based marketing. And while I can't speak to the laws in particular in Canada, my observation is that thematically, the legislative and regulatory environment says that there are acceptable reasons to communicate with customers, and that you need to give customers the opportunity to end that permission at any time that they choose. I don't think there's any harm in being overly conservative about giving customers not the opportunity to opt out. One of the things, Sherry, we don't do a particularly good job at here in the U.S. is turning off the communication to customers who want to opt out. And a lot of the anti-spam issues and a lot of the privacy issues revolve around that the efficiency of that turnoff. So I would encourage you to study that and get a legal interpretation, and then make sure your store process lines up with what you need to do. And the other thing I would observe, and then Steve, I'll let you jump in, is the anti-spam laws really here in the U.S. aren't as sensitive to a communication that the customer has initiated where you're responding as they are to unsolicited communications, either with existing customers or with prospective customers. So in the spectrum of danger, you move from kind of a green light when you're talking to someone who's asked you to communicate with them to a yellow light when you're communicating with an existing customer about a potential new relationship, to kind of a red light when you're communicating with non-customers. And you need to adjust your compliance to meet those standards.
Yeah, you really do. But, you know, as we, Sherry, this is Steve, as we talked about earlier, one of the great places to go for these answers is going to be your provider. You know, if you go to a reputable large provider that serves your country, then, you know, the hope is that they've obviously done this research and they're compliant. But make sure that you ask them these questions. Don't just jump in with both feet into a provider. Make sure that you get these questions answered. You certainly want to do the right thing. Great question.
You bet.
Sherry, thank you so much. Gentlemen, I want to close out our question and answer session with this great comment from Natalia. She says, thank you for this great webinar. I picked up a lot of insights for our business in Brazil. We got Brazilians checking us out today, Mike and Steve.
You know, that's really, Natalia, thank you for the compliment. And we've been looking at international opportunities, and Brazil is a huge automotive market, growing, great place to do business. And, you know, we're in South Florida. We ought to come and visit you sometime. That's kind of you to say. Thank you so much.
That sounds like a great excuse to go to Brazil. Natalia will be there. She'll be happy about it. Okay, so Mike, Steve, excellent presentation. Thank you so much. It was fantastic. I'm getting a lot of very, very positive feedback from our audience today. And of course, we're past the top of the hour. So any questions that weren't answered during the time allotted, please will you consider to answer them by email later today. Right, Mike?
You bet.
Okay, and I want to remind the audience that a link to download a copy of today's webinar recording is going to be emailed to you in just a few hours, and please feel free to share it with friends and colleagues. Today's webinar will also be posted online within 24 hours. All you have to do is go to dealeron.com/webinars, and on the right-hand side, click on the link for on-demand webinars. It lists them all there in order with the most recent one on top. And also on that page, you can view our upcoming webinar schedule. And I also want to let you know, at the conclusion of this webinar, you're going to receive a short survey. Please fill it out. We're always looking for great feedback from our audience, and let Mike and Steve know what a great job they did today. Of course, we would certainly appreciate your feedback. Of course, we're going to also randomly select a couple of people from all the completed surveys to also win some Google prizes. So you don't want to miss out on that fun stuff. Now, invitations are going to be going out tomorrow for our next webinar. The 13 metrics that matter most. There are literally hundreds of different metrics that are available to us at dealerships, and many of us use these metrics to make such important decisions as setting budgets and even hiring more personnel. But which metrics really make a difference? Famed automotive thought leader Dennis Galbraith will discuss the metrics that matter most, why certain metrics are more important than others, and how they can help you make decisions that will positively affect your dealership's bottom line. You'll learn to handle the growing amount of marketing data more efficiently and with fewer missed opportunities for profit improvement. If you want to learn which metrics deserve your attention and why, then this may be the most important webinar you attend all year. Don't miss it. This is going to be another fabulous presentation by your friends at DEALERUN. And don't forget, DEALERUN's weekly webinars are held every Thursday at 12 noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And we've got some great webinar subjects planned for this year, but if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions regarding these webinars and our topics, please contact me directly. I love hearing from you. It's Eliana@dealeron.com, or you can track me down on Facebook, Twitter, or any one of the automotive social networks. I'm on all of them. Thank you all so very much for spending this time with us today, and I hope to see you all on a future webinar in our continuing education series. Have yourselves a good one.